Yeah, no, absolutely. Be interesting to see if people's general, what's the way to put it? I wonder if just people will think about it differently. Obviously, given the fact that it's just not been a part of anyone's lives for a few months, it'll be interesting to see if they think about it differently when they do go back out, if they kind of appreciate it more, if they see it in a different light. And then on top of that, as you were saying, the fact that the kind of biggest look into the sort of like bartending and spirits world recently has been activations such as, what you've been doing with these videos and such. So people might almost be coming back into bars feeling that they've got a little bit more insight. They might have a bit more confidence to pick something out to try, or even just be a bit more adventurous. I think that'd be
absolutely
a healthy thing.
And again, walking into a bar and a bartender says, I've been watching, or I've been tasting this brand, or I've been watching this brand. Have you got anything like it, or whatever? If we can get more, which actually at a meter or 2 meters apart, it's been quite hard to get a conversation going. I appreciate it, but if we can get people walking into venues with that sort of mindset, then winner, man.
Yeah, for sure. Within spiced rum, this might be a bit of a controversial one. You don't have to answer if you don't want, but do you think there are any like specific no-nos, like absolutely do nots that you do see in the industry in the moment that kind of maybe would hinder the progress of something like Black Tears coming to fruition? So what I mean by that is like kind of like with the gin thing, it started off a few people wanting to make a quick buck with some flavored and some funky stuff, and then obviously over time more people started delving into it, and then before you know it, the market's really, really saturated. And I'm sure there probably are some quite high quality flavored gins out there, but it's one of those things where, because there are so many bad examples, there are certain people that maybe aren't just even willing to try it, full stop. And same with this. I feel like with spiced rum, a lot of people might just, I know what we've been saying before, it's maybe like a bit ignorant to do so, but some people might just shut it down without even bothering to try. So I might see something like Black Tears spiced and hear that there's coffee and cacao and things like that in it, and they'll instantly just think it's not natural, it's something artificial that's in there, and it's just not good quality. The flavors are there to mask, a poor quality base spirit, and I'm just not going to bother. So is there anything happening within the category that you think could maybe be changed by people to sort of like change some of these preconceptions of the category?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing from that, you can never force people to try anything, unfortunately. And again, when we do like rum festivals and when you're face to face with people, and you get it all the time. Like, I don't drink that. The worst one for it is white rum, right? Mm-hmm. So the brands that I've managed and worked with over the years, we've had quite a few very good quality white rums. Okay, so you'll have your range in front of you. It might be white spiced, aged, super aged, or whatever, right? And people come up and go, I want to try that one because it's got a number on the bottle, right? And you'll be like, no. To do that, you need to start at this end, right? And we'll do the whole journey. I don't drink that. I don't drink white rum. Why? I just don't. Well, it's not good enough. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to try it to make your mind up and your opinion of it. Don't get me wrong. If you don't like it, you don't like it. There's nothing. You're not going to please everyone. I keep going back to that, but you're not going to please everyone. But you can't have an opinion on something you don't know anything about. Like I said before, you can't not like something you've never tried it. Right? You can't do that. So if you're not into spiced rum, fine. Just fine, it is where it is. But you can't dismiss it for what it is, right? It's the biggest and fastest growing rum category for the last 7 years, right? It's not going anywhere. If anything, it's helping everybody else along, okay? Because it's bringing the word rum and the category as a whole of rum to the forefront, right? So at some point, everybody will get a piece of this pie, absolutely. In terms of people, producers, brands, or whatever, it's just honesty and transparency, just be honest about stuff. Don't lie about whatever it is. Don't try and fool people or whatever, because you'll get found out. Right? And if someone comes up to you and proves you wrong about your product or what your message is, then you're going to look at it right muppet, right? With the internet and with the power of social media and stuff now, you can't get away with very much these days. Now, again, the sad reality is that there is some brands appearing on the market which are colours I'm sure haven't actually just even been invented yet, with all sorts of stuff going off in there. And there's a 3-letter word on the bottle which is going to draw people in, right? Now, just because it says rum on the bottle, you know, and again, I'll go back to what I said before, look on the bottle, look on the front label of every spiced rum bottle, right? And every single label will be slightly different in wording, whether it's a rum-based spirit drink or a Caribbean spirit based on rum or whatever, right? There'll be something somewhere about how it's worded, because legally and technically you can't call it a straight rum. Okay, some brands are pretty clever and they put the word rum into their brand name, right? So it doesn't read as if it's saying it's a rum, but when you look at a label, the word rum stands out, right? But it's actually part of the company name. So yeah, there's loads of tricks that people are using. But you know, the sad reality is there's going to be some dreadful stuff to come. There's no getting away from it, right? But it's not aimed at me. I won't be seeking it out. And I won't be tasting it. You know, when it's pumped full of artificial this, that, and the other, that's not a product that I would ever go for. So,
yeah. Is there anything out there, obviously short of what you represent right now, or what you've, you know, other than companies that you've worked for in the past? Is there anything out there in the rum world that you really enjoy? Do you find yourself going back to a certain product, or is there anything exciting and interesting that you've tasted or seen?
Oh wow! Do I go back? I guess I reckon. Well, actually, I can't get it now. But my comfort blanket, I guess, would have been probably Puss's 15. The shorts, the original. Sadly, that's long gone now.
We've still got some in Smugglers if you want some.
Yeah, we do.
I think we've got like a tiny bit left.
Man, that ran out 3-4 years ago, maybe. Honestly, I haven't produced it.
I do like the new one as well. It's delicious.
The new one's really good. I actually think I prefer it. It's a little bit more grown up. Do you know what I mean? I think I do prefer it. In terms of rums now, oh man, I don't think I do ever really sort of gravitate towards one. Maybe a specific style. I'm not drawn in by number or anything like that. But dipping my toe into agricoles as well at the minute.
Nice.
They're not sippers really, but I'm dipping my toe into a few of those right now, which are proving good. But you know, I'm probably more privileged now, obviously having Black Tears tied in with the Skylark Spirits portfolio, which is nothing but rum. And bless him, like Jazz, every now and again he'll just keep sending me like little bottles. Try that, try this. So yeah, I mean, one of the best ones I've tried recently is Dr. Bird, which wow, I mean, it's just unbelievable. You mentioned earlier, Jack, about the SBS as well, single barrel selections, like some of them stuff. Some of that's crazy good. It's fantastic. You know, and every now and again you just get this little package in the post of like some little bottles of rum in it, and you're like, ooh. So yeah, I think there's a lot of rum producers now, and like what we're classing, I guess, is to coin a wine phrase, but like new world rum. So from countries that you may not have expected it. So you know, there's some great stuff coming out of new countries, Americas, you know, North America and stuff like that. Asia as well, Australia, producing some really good stuff. So there's some exciting stuff coming.
Is there any spiced rums in particular you've tried before that you're a fan of?
Yeah, I mean, for me, you know, again, when back in my Puss's days, Puss's rum had a spiced, you know, which I thought was brilliant. It was dry, it was different, you know, but at the time I think it was just too different, to be honest. It was very much the Marmite of rum, let alone spiced rum, because it was so different. I think Chairman's is always a great bet. Chairman Spice is really, really good. So I keep looking because that's where my rums are. You've got, for a slightly sweeter edge as well, something like, and I know I used to work with them as well, but Bayou Spice is really good. That's a 40% rum as well, which really helps. And that's a pot still as well, rather than column. Most are all column. Bayou's a pot. I tend to go for stuff that you probably don't get in a supermarket. And I'd look at the producer and also geography first as well. If it just says, products of the Caribbean,
questionable.
I'll probably leave that one for now. Do you know what I mean? If a bottle can tell you where it's from and who by very clearly, then that's a good place to start, because they're proud of it. And certainly if it's a brand that you know of, that you thought, all of a sudden they've been making a spice rum. Again, they've actually put a lot of time, effort, energy, research, and all the rest of it into that. I think for me it'd be producer and geography are the two things that I would look for first. And if they're clear, that's a good place to start.
Yeah, definitely. I know, we tend to, we certainly look at where stuff's coming from usually, as a good gauge of what we're going to enjoy to drink. I think,
Yeah, but even blend stuff, they should still tell you where it's blended from. A blend of Caribbean rum. Right. Thanks. Anything else? No. It's you should still know where it's from.
Yeah, definitely.
You'll find with that, actually, to be honest, if it's a blend of Caribbean rum, most times it's a blended bulk distillate. So it's probably actually been produced, for example, over here. So you got the main rum company just down the road from you guys, actually, or you've got here over in Europe, or and you can buy a blended distillate. No idea what it's in it or whatever, but when you're going to pump it full of whatever it is you're going to pump it full of, who cares? Sad reality, isn't it?
Unfortunately, yeah. We'll stick a load of vanilla in there and
and everything else, yeah. That's the thing. Black Tears is no sugars, no flavourings, no sugars, no sweetness at all. There's no vanilla in it at all. None.
That's quite refreshing to hear, because it's kind of seems to be like the go-to kind of spiced rum spice almost is just vanilla usually, isn't it?
Yeah, which is just overly sweet. I mean, you go for a curry and you order a vindaloo and it comes out tasting of mango, you're going to send it back. That's not what you've ordered. If you order a spice rum which should be spiced, then unless it's heavily labelled that this contains a whole world of whatever it is, even in vanilla, chances are that's a vanilla extract or a vanilla syrup. If it's quite oily and quite viscous, then it's not natural vanilla. It's a liquid that they've put in that tastes of vanilla, which is why it ends up being quite oily and it'll coat the mouth quite a lot.
So you're hoping for this then, once kind of some of the bars reopen, you're hoping to almost do a little bit of a tour round and kind of get bartenders trained up a little bit on ways in which to utilise the products?
Yeah, there's an element. There is an element of picking up where we left off. Absolutely. So current stockists, priority number one, to make sure that, as harsh as this may sound, is that they're all still there. We spent a lot of time targeting independents, or independents, and a lot of them obviously they're not at work anymore, so they've ditched it, and now they're starting to go back into clean the dust off and maybe give it a lick of paint or whatever. So we started to make some way in finding out who's ready to open and who's not. I think the harsh reality will be that not everyone is going to come through this, unfortunately. Not from the venues that we've been targeting. So there's an element of picking up where we left off, but also being super mindful that it's actually quite a sensitive time as well. It isn't business as usual. It's not normality again. There's a lot happened and a lot still to happen. we're not going to be, you open your doors on the 4th. I'm not going to be knocking on your door on Monday the 6th going, right, guys, come on, new menu. Yeah, woo. Because that's the last thing you want, right? And rightly so, Andy, we mentioned it earlier, you're allowed so many people in your venue now, right? That's it, because you're at a reduced occupancy and all the rest of it. So you only allow so many people in. And, people like me are going to come swanning in. Well, I'm taking up a potential paying customer's spot. Do you know what I mean? So, hang on a minute. No, get out. It's like, it's going to be tricky to learn how and when we can go and see people.
Yeah.
And also what stage discussions people are going to be at, and, we were doing really well. It's kind of a double-edged sword. We were doing really well before lockdown, great progress. Distribution was going up, sales were going up, usage was going up. And then obviously it all stopped. But what that means is, and you guys will know this, you're sat on stock already. You're not going to bring in new stuff, or you're not going to be ordering maybe for a while if you don't need it. Run down what you have, make the money out of what you've got before you have to spend it again. So it's going to be tricky when people do reopen. And we've had chats internally at Skylark and the Island Rum Company about how we can be mindful on how we approach people. The last thing I want is to upset anyone more than the upset they've already been through. So priority number one is finding out who's survived and who is reopening the doors. Out of those people, where are we currently listed? And that's where we start. And then once the dust settles a little bit and people are a little bit more open again, and more people going out, then absolutely we'll still always look for new opportunities. But we're not going to be as aggressive is probably not the right word, but it's not as important as such now. It's support those that are reopening and they've got the product already.
Yeah. Are you planning on being a fixture if things still go ahead at some of the events, like some of the big things in the rum calendar for the year? So like Manchester Rum Fest, potentially London. Will you be there? And will it be like in the form of just Black Tears, or is it like Skylark or the Island Company as a whole?
Yeah, well, the plan is, at the moment we know of the rescheduled date for Manchester. Mm-hmm. So that's all still going ahead. That's more of a Skylark thing, of which Black Tears has its own bar and its own setup, so that'll be quite cool. We've got La Progressiva there for that one as well. London, we assume at the moment it's still going ahead. We don't know what format and what have you. And also we don't know yet if the ones that haven't gone ahead, if they're going to, it's potentially going to be a really busy end to the year. If everyone sort of reschedules everything to the end of the year, or certainly sort of Q3, Q4, it is potentially going to be really busy. But then, because there's been so many online tastings and forums, and we've been doing a lot of Zoom tastings with Skylark Spirits. We'll send out packs to people's houses and we do Zoom tastings.
That's one thing I've noticed is like a format that's really, really interesting. It's been quite nice to see. Unfortunately, we've not partaken in any just because we've kind of been doing some of our own things. But I really like the idea of, buying a kind of little set rather than limiting yourself to buying one bottle of something. You're getting to taste a vast array of different things. But then on top of that, it's almost coming accompanied with a little bit of that customer experience side of things, where it gains you access into a little Zoom thing where you can meet other people, and it just kind of doesn't feel quite so isolated, does it? I guess when it's kind of just opening up a little bit of dialogue, and you can drink along with some people, albeit virtually, but it's better than just getting yourself one bottle of something and being stuck alone with it.
Yeah. But you know what? They've actually been really good and really interesting. You go to a rum festival, you're surrounded by a load of people. Chances are most of them are hammered. Chances are some of them are dressed as pirates. And it can be, sometimes it's just not an enjoyable experience. Do you know what I mean? Whereas these, you're in your own home with whoever it is you want to be. You're drinking rum, and from a brand's point of view, we've got people in Denmark, in Amsterdam, in Canada, in Paris. These people are behind the brand. They make it, they manufacture it, they produce it, whatever. They don't have to go anywhere, so they can still educate people. There's no airfares, there's no accommodation, there's no expense. Right, just sit here on Zoom for an hour, and Skylark were pretty much one of the first to do it. They've nailed the format. They did a European one a few months ago. There's another one coming up in August where 420 tickets. You get 26 rums in your pack. You get a full timetable. So it's split over 3 Zoom rooms. You get a full timetable of what rum to have, where, when, and how. It's half an hour on, half an hour off, half an hour on, half an hour off. So you get a constant break. About just drink. You also get a cocktail pack as well. So rum, lime juice, lemon juice, sugar syrup, blah, blah, blah. And then you get a Zoom link to, for Black Tears, for example, it's the brand ambassador in Cuba, who from Cuba will talk you through how to make a Cuban mojito. And then there'll be another guy in, where's the other guy? Amsterdam. Bar in Amsterdam, Barcelona, sorry, guy in Barcelona. He's going to show you how to make a drink. And then there's a guy in Paris, he's going to show you. So, they're bringing together, it's mega. The tickets are like 50 quid.
Yeah, so extremely good value for money, especially given the insight and information from these people you just would never have access to. It's quite nice as well, isn't it? Because like you said, you as a consumer, you're not having to travel to a place, be surrounded by loads and loads of people. You kind of get to do it from the comfort of your own home, but you still get the experience and diversity as if you were walking around one of these places and just like sampling stuff and checking out different stalls and whatnot.
You're getting
quite a
more.
nice idea.
Yeah, you're getting more because as a presenter, you're not being disrupted.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can spend time talking to people without being, people dressed as pirates trying to drag rum out of your hands. But no, it's an interesting format, and we'll see how it goes.
Do you think it's something that's going to kind of like carry over? Like, do you reckon some people now, like I imagine in the normal kind of 9-to-5 world, I imagine a lot of office jobs are going to long-term change up the way in which they do things. I guess some people have seen now that there's not a necessity to have to travel to a place 5 days a week, for example, and be sat in a physical office. If you realise you might only have to pop in once or twice, then you can do the rest from home. It might sort of like change the way in which people work. Do you think that this might have been a little bit of a game changer for the industry in terms of, like tastings? Do you reckon there'll be more people now doing kind of like online interactive offerings? I think it's something that would work for us to a large extent. Obviously, I'm sure you've got to bypass a lot of technical glitches, and it might not always go smoothly the first, especially when you're talking about it on the volumes of people that are going to be, attending this European one. I imagine there are some people behind the scenes kind of making sure that all that goes smoothly,
Yes.
There's no technical hiccups.
100%. You're in the laps of the gods really in terms of technology and stuff, but it will continue, I think. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, you can't get away from the face-to-face craziness that a rum festival can give you, which is great fun. But certainly in the short run, where we're all as we are, then absolutely. We've over the past few months, we've done people's birthdays, we've done stag do's. All these people that have looked for something different to do. We've had corporate companies looking to entertain clients, and all sorts of things. And I do think it'll carry on for a while.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's nice just to see that there's still the interest there as well. Like I guess that certainly in my time in hospitality, if at certain points someone had said to me, there might be a time period where you've got to cope with not physically being in the space, I would have thought, well, that is what it's all about. And of course, it is still a large part of it. But the fact that bars and restaurants not being open still hasn't dissuaded people from buying these products and tasting them and talking about them online and getting involved. It's quite an encouraging thing from obviously someone that's in a position where I'm hoping once we reopen, people are still going to want to come in and people are still going to want to be drinking rum and drinking spirits and just being interested. I don't think there's as big a hurdle that the industry will have had before, right? Is this whole kind of just worldwide blanket shutdown of stuff. So I think if we can get through this and still have people on board and entertained and intrigued and involved, then hopefully it's a positive sign for things to come.
Yeah, and it is. I think, again, we've all sort of appreciated more, you know, key workers and stuff like that. And we've all appreciated more the fact that if I want to go for a beer, I want to go for a beer. Now, when that's taken away from you, it's like, well, hang on a minute, right? And that's the thing. Like, when it's now given back to us, I do think people will absolutely pick that up and relish it. Do you know what I mean? Yes, it's going to be different. Of course, it's going to be different. Life is going to be different. But as long as we're all sensible and we can sort of get on with it in the right way, there's no reason why we can't all go back out and enjoy a couple of drinks with our friends, and you know, on a Saturday afternoon, or you know, Monday lunchtime, whatever. Whenever people want to have a beer or a couple of cocktails or some rums and stuff, you know. But I do think, you know, people are ready to go visit the bars again, and I've started to see it already on social media. Bar owners, bartenders posting pictures of them cleaning and getting ready and rearranging tables and stuff. So, you know, they're getting ready for it. I think there's a good buzz coming. We just need not to mess it all up by, you know, people getting hammered and all over each other, and then just, you know, it's, as long as we're careful and responsible with it, I think it'll be all good.
Yeah. And for you personally, kind of like work-wise going forward, is there anything you're really looking to do within your current role? Is there anywhere you're hoping in particular it's going to take you? Because obviously, like, you've only been in your current position, it's not been too long, has it? So, like, where are you wanting to kind of go from here? Are you hoping that more products will come along that you can kind of take under your wing and get out there and promote, or are you just going to focus on these few for a little bit and really try and get them out there and see how they take off?
Yeah, priority number one is Black Tears. Obviously, that's our forefront brand. You're right. At December when I started, so we're still early in our relationship, and that's certainly been pushed back even further in terms of development because of where we all are. So, like I say, there is an element of picking up where we left off. Priority number one, get Black Tears out there. That's the brand that we're going to be focusing on. We've got La Progresiva as well, which is the premium end. So that's great traction, to be fair, online and stuff in off sales, which is brilliant. There were talks of an 8-year coming as well, a true Cuban 8 coming by Q4. That's probably going to be now next year. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. Obviously, we're at the very beginning of the Black Tears journey in the UK. It's going well. It was going better, but going well. So we've still got a lot of work to do. And obviously, just spread the love and educate people more now on not just the brand, but on the spice rum category, but the greater rum category at the same time. That's always the plan, no matter what brand I'm employed by or which company I'm employed by. I think it's almost still more important to educate people more on the category and the diversity of that. We're a part of it. So if people's education and people's consumption grows, we grow with it.
Yeah, I think it's something we touched on before, but I think it will be important going forward. Just like everyone's pushing for, you know, transparency and honesty in the rum category as a whole, I think as a subset, spice rum is a category where, you know, some people have been dismissive of it, and there's been elements of it that they've been kind of, it's right to do so to a certain extent. You know, some people have been annoyed about certain practices and whatnot, but as again we said before, there are certain things out there available on the market that are quite good representations of that category, you know, and they are following the correct practices and procedures and producing a spirit that is good quality and is worthy of some recognition. And just like people fighting for the category as a whole, I don't see any reason why people can't fight for that subcategory of spice rum, and again make that same push for transparency and quality control and variation as well, you know, and creativity. I forgot to ask before, is Black Tears only available in the UK and in Cuba, or is it available in other countries as well?
It's in other countries, however, it's not available in Cuba.
It's not available in Cuba. Okay.
No, not yet. It launches again. The planned launch for Cuba is now October or November, I think. It's been pushed back. So it launched outside of Cuba first. So it's not actually available there yet. They're doing a lot of promotional events and a lot of marketing activity to get the brand awareness up. They can't sell it, but they can give it away. So again, before lockdown, and because they've had it as well, and the distillery had to shut and stuff like that. So they were doing a lot out there. But yeah, distribution is really strong all over Europe. Obviously not America, but yeah, Australia and Asia as well.
Oh wow! Okay.
So yeah, it's gone well. It's been in Asia for a little over a year. But yeah, for the UK, officially was the official outing was probably Rumfest last year, actually, in London. So sort of October time last year. That was the official sort of big launch, if you like, for it. So it's still new. It's still really, really new. The plus point is the quality of the liquid. Spice rum drinkers or non-spice rum drinkers, they appreciate it and they enjoy it, be it neat or as a cocktail. So, there's some serious rum people out there that I know have got a bottle. They've told me, bought a bottle of Black Tears. It's good because it is so low in sugar and so low in additives, and the rum is still very, very good. It works for them, which is brilliant.
Yeah, it seems like it would tick some of the boxes for people that might be adverse to trying the run-of-the-mill spiced rum. I'm sure there are people out there that if they hear it's so low in sugar content, if they hear that all the flavourings are natural, I think that at least quashes some skepticism that people would have about quality and legitimacy within the category.
Sets the scene as well of like what you're going to get. If you're looking at a bottle that's a ridiculous colour and I don't know, there's certainly nothing natural about it whatsoever, then you kind of get an idea of what it's going to taste like, right? You have it explained to you about the quality of its production and the quality of the ingredients that you use, etc. Then again, you kind of get a picture in your head or a taste in your mouth before you even actually taste it in physically. But again, that's down to myself and people like me that do my job to make sure we give people the right information in the right way and leave them to make their own assumptions. We can't force it down people's throats, sadly. But no, we wouldn't do that anyway. But yeah, we're not out to please everyone. But we are out to prove that making a spice rum can be of a high quality product. And it is.
Yeah, I think it's kind of good, like you said, for kind of the category as a whole, really, to kind of have these products out there that are being transparent and are kind of trying to change people's perceptions of it as like a whole.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to kind of have things like that. Otherwise, we're going to have a lot of uneducated rum drinkers drinking, what were we talking about before? Copperberg cherry rum, whatever it is.
So again, it doesn't matter what brand it is, and people produce advertising leaflets or magazine adverts and stuff like that, and they only say certain things on it because it's a sales tool, right? It's not an educational tool; it's a sales tool. But quite often with certain brands, those sales tools are not backed up by any form of educational tools. It's got rum in it. It tastes like this and it looks like that. Drink it. That's about it, right? And that's not the way the category is going to grow. Jack, you mentioned earlier about jumping on the bandwagon, making a load of money. That to me there's a lot of people that are starting to do that, I think.
Yeah, and I think if there's people not setting the standards to a certain extent, or you've not got some figureheads out there that are trying to steer the ship in a positive direction, it can just go off in a million different ways, can't it? And
but it will. Yeah. It will do that. And to be fair, man, you can put in as many standards and as many things as you want. Someone wants to bring out an inferior, cheap, as in production and cheap financially product. Nothing you can do to stop that. There's been a brand over lockdown doing 3 bottles for 45 quid, and a bulk lot, right? So you have to buy all 3. It's 45 quid. Now they've cleaned up. They've absolutely cleaned up, right? It's certainly in the spice rum world. 3 bottles, 15 quid a bottle, beauty, delivered to your door.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Have you got anything you wanted to ask us at all, Peter?
I think from that, thank you. Shoot the door again. I Thank you. Go. No, I think from our side, really, it's more about the plans of the industry, and you know, what are your thoughts? You've got more insight into the industry side of it than I do, obviously, because I'm from a brand or an import distributor point of view, whereas you guys are from the on-trade side of it. I mean, other than what we see on the news, or you know, our illustrious leader when he tells us what's going on, you know, is there anything that you're really sort of having to plan for that you didn't expect, or is there things that you thought the other way around, things that you don't have to do that you thought you might have to?
I think we're just in a bit of a mode at the moment where we don't want to even try and estimate or guesstimate what's going to go on, because so much craziness has already happened that it's very difficult to plan. Of course, there's some information now coming out about the general practices and rules and regulations we're going to have to follow. It's one of those, it's like with anything, isn't it? If there's a bunch of you sat around the table discussing an idea, you know, there's certain things on the face of it. Yeah, great, we can do this, we can do that, no problem. But it's actually only once you start getting into the weeds with it and hashing out practicalities of what actually works and what doesn't. And of course, there's certain things we're going to have to stick to really rigidly, but they are going to affect service, no doubt, and things like that. I just think until we get into the swing of it and we see how everyone's dealing with it as a whole, you know, we just try and test a few different things and see what works. We don't really know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and that's it. It's going to be a massive trial and error, isn't it? And like, you know, you open your doors in a new setup, because obviously tables and chairs are about to have been moved, and this is about to have been moved, and you can only do this and that. Then you open your doors one day, it may not work, so you've got to close it again and rejig it, and so it's going to be every day could be, you know, for a while could be very, very different, right?
Yeah,
I think it might be the final nail in the coffin for the kind of type of bartender that can entertain a station, like in front, like people, like multiple people in front of them. Like, I think everyone's going to be very out of practice at doing that. And if it comes back anytime soon, I think people are going to be very rusty dealing with a lot of customers in front of them, I think.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of almost like a service bartender, right? Do you know what I mean? You get an order, you make the order, and it leaves. You know, it's not you're like a service station rather than a bartender. You know, it's good. And even
it's definitely something that we've said to other people before that we've had on and spoke about, you know, similar topics with changes. Both myself and Andy, big part of our take on training people, and also what we enjoy ourselves within the job role, is the kind of educational, socializing side of it. So because we've got so many rums in Smugglers, alongside a lot of other, you know, variations of spirits, we really like to be able to offer up choice and be educated enough to really kind of steer people in the right direction. And that whole element of it is just kind of completely gone. As you say, it's going to be as simple as you get a check through, you make the drinks, you put them in a designated area, and then you walk away, and that's it. No talking, you know, no, or certainly less opportunities to interact with customers. So I think in the long term, if this is going to go on for a while, we might have to figure out more inventive and innovative ways to sort of like interact with customers and keep them interested. You know, me personally, part of my experience when going out for a drink is it's the ambience, it's the environment and the service, and basically all of that's going to be stripped away. There's not really going to be an atmosphere as much because there's going to be way less people in there. Service, you know, the drink's just going to show up to your table with minimal interaction. I don't personally see that as a very attractive long-term prospect for the industry. You know, like it sure, of course, you know, when July 4th rolls around, I'm sure I'm going to be going somewhere for a pint. I can't wait just to have a pint in my hands. You know, it'll feel so right. But, you know, in the coming months, if it gets into August, September, and we're still having to go into places where there's perfect screens up everywhere, whatever they're called, and, you know, you can't talk to anyone. It just, it gets to that point where you think, I might as well just get some ingredients in and make stuff at home, especially if on top of that, there's the likes of yourself that are on a Friday night running, you know, interesting videos where it's like people making cocktails, alongside each other and things like that. It's going to be tough. We're just going to have to wait and see, I think.
And that like we said it earlier, you can't plan. You just got to wait. You've got to wait, see, do it, maybe reevaluate and try again. You can't go, right, on this date we're going to do this, and from that day we're going to do this, and that's going to work like this. Because as soon as you open your doors and people come in, and hospitality is social distancing, and you have a few drinks, it's going to be really hard to especially you've had a few drinks, your mate walks in, fella, whoa, hang on, who's going to be the one that steps in, but excuse me, you're less than a meter apart, go on. It's so hard, to do that. It's bad enough anyway, do you know what I mean? But it's going to be really interesting. I do think there are so many people ready, as you've just said, to walk in, pick up a proper beer or whatever in a proper pub, and even if they just shout hello to the mate across there or whatever, I think, and I'm one of them, do you know what I mean? Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to just a fresh, crisp, proper cold pint, do you know what I mean? And I can't wait for that. I am also interested, I was nearly said looking forward, that's really not the right term for it, but interested to see how places are going to look and feel. And I think, again, a lot of people may be going in with this doom and gloomy, it's going to be awful, I think with 1 meter distancing, you can forget that, because it's never going to happen, right? At 2 meters, people might have been a meter, right? Because, no one's got the real sort of gauge of it. Now it's only 1 meter, you can forget that. It's going to be shoulder to shoulder, or it's going to be, stood face to face, having a chat and a catch up, right? What we've been doing for the last few months. So it'll be interesting to see how people are in that environment.
Yeah. One thing it made me realise as well, I never really realised the fragility of, or how close to the bone so many different places are when it comes to earning money and keeping their head above water. There's so many bars out there. Obviously I have so much free time listening to a lot of podcasts and people discussing stuff, everything from bartenders to bar owners. And there are so many people, even from really reputable, well-established bars, bars that are known worldwide. All it takes is them to be out of the running for a couple of months, and it's almost game over. The pinnacle for someone like myself would be to one day, maybe have your own bar, you've got your own space, you can have your own take on it, and just be fully in control. It sounds like a great prospect, of course, but there are certain places that you just expect them to just be generating so much money all the time, and you think to yourself, obviously it's a little bit of a slump and whatever, it sucks, but they'll be able to get back on their feet. But obviously profit margins run so thin, and it doesn't matter how good your reputation is or how many kind of regulars you've got or whatever, a few months and it's just almost is enough to wipe so many people out. There's been very few people or places I've heard of that have been unfazed by this almost. Everyone's really, really taken a massive hit. So I'm just hoping that, as well as seeing what places look like when we do get back to it, I'm hoping that a lot of the places that we've liked and enjoyed are actually still even there. It might not be, the next couple of months there might still be things, but it's the ongoing impact of this thing, isn't it? It's come the latter part of the year. It's next year, once this furloughing's not in place anymore and there's less government help and whatnot. Who's to say what the long-standing impacts of this thing will be?
And the knock-on is going to be huge. The knock-on is going to be huge, man. And again, what you've just said and what we said earlier, the smaller independent bars just ain't going to make it. And do you know, even out of our industry, small independent shops, they're not going to make it. They fly by the seat of their pants anyway. They don't have money in the bank to sustain their business for 3, 4, 5 months. Right? They don't do it. They might have enough to pay next month's bills or last month's bills or whatever. They don't sit there and go, right, I need to have enough money in my business bank account to sustain my business for 6 months of the year, because you don't plan when you're setting a business up to not be doing anything for 6 months of the year. The cash in the bank isn't really there to sustain you. So yeah, what can you do? You might get rent subsidies or furlough or blah blah blah, but you still, when you reopen, landlords will be wanting rent, and did you pay that last invoice for your last delivery? Well, that's going to be still sat there waiting. Your gas, water, electric, phone, internet, blah blah blah. All these bills are still going to be there.
Yeah, because everyone, for sure, once we get back into the swing of it, everyone is going to come back out the woodwork and chomping at the bit to get, as you say, to get paid back stuff that's owed, prior bills, all this thing. Because everyone's in the same boat, aren't they, really? Everyone's in the same boat. It's one big vicious cycle. I'm just hoping that, enough people manage to come away from it unscathed in the long term. Same with staff as well. Being the manager of the Bar and Smugglers, obviously I've been quite concerned as to people's well-being in this. The furloughing did take a massive weight off, of course, but I'm sure there'll be a lot of bars where people decide not to go back. They'll have maybe taken up another job or just found something else to do in this time. Some people, it might have really put them off the prospect, because again, it just really highlights the fragility of the situation that you're in, doesn't it? If you suddenly realise there's a chance where your job might not be deemed as being something that's like a key thing to do, and it's first on the chopping block when it comes to jobs being lost and such. Like, people might think, I should really invest my time and energy into doing something else. And it'd be a shame, because I'm sure there's a lot of talented people that have maybe just got into the industry or just started getting more and more entrenched in certain things. Then all of a sudden this just comes and pulls the rug from under the feet. And it's like, I'm sure a lot of people will be sitting on the fence a bit about whether they want to go back.
I left a 14-year career. I've been with the same company for 14 years to start with this company in December. When all this went off, my probation was a 6-month probation period. And I'm not kidding, man. I've many conversations in our house about what if, and for many, many, many weeks, I didn't know. It's a new product, massively concentrating on the on-trade. I didn't know if they were going to say, let's shelve this for a bit. I had no idea. And we were very fortunate that, I think it was about 4 or 5 weeks in, we had a call with the Island Rum Company, and they were saying, look, everyone on this call, on the Zoom, everyone on this screen now we're going to do what we can, and we'll still support you. You're not losing your job or whatever. So, we were very lucky at that. But it was worrying for me for a while. And if it does come back and the on-trades, on and off and on and off and in and off, I don't know. I don't know if myself and other people like me, if brands are going to be there to invest in us moving forward. Do they invest in a person? Do they invest in the venues? Do they invest in, I don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty for so many aspects of the industry. But until then, it's head down and do what we can, and just be as supportive for my brand and for the people that are stocking my products as much as possible, and just do the best we can, really.
Yeah, there's definitely, certainly in Liverpool, it's a very close-knit hospitality scene. I'm sure in the likes of Leeds or Manchester, it's the same deal. But I think that this is kind of countrywide, and even internationally, there is that kind of sense of camaraderie. There are so many people in the same boat. You've gone from doing a really, really sociable job to just being shut away. I'm sure a lot of people have felt the sting of it in a lot of different ways. But now that even today, with some announcements that have been made, as you said, you're seeing people on Facebook, and online, social media, Instagram, whatever, posting up, we're back, we're getting back on the horse. Can't wait to see you in a couple of weeks. People are already firing up the engines again and getting ready to go. So brilliant. I'm hoping that kind of mentality will, carry over, and we won't all be, dog eats dog when we get back to them. Hoping everyone's all in it together. Do you know what I mean? Supporting each other, whether it be brands, bartenders and venues and stuff like that. I'm hoping that,
I think it's definitely brought certain areas and certain people from different bars closer together in cities, because obviously everyone was hit right at the same time. It wasn't one area first or one street first or whatever. It was everybody, boom, overnight. So it affected everybody at the same time in the same way. And I think it has brought quite a lot and not even just within the same city, but in different cities as well. You know, the industry closer together, and love, hate, you know, like, loathe, whatever. I think venue for venue now, it's a case of, yeah, do you know what? You feel each other's pain now, rather than like, you know, this venue over here is going through a bit of a patch, and oh, they're close to going under, or it doesn't affect you because you're not connected to it. Whereas all of a sudden, everyone was connected. So, you know, I think it has brought a lot of people closer together, and I think that will transcend all of this. I think that will carry on, and I hope you're right. I hope it carries on for a very, very, very long time. Of course, people will go back to their own little parochial, you know, venue hats. Of course they will, because that's their jobs, right? But, you know, on a day off, on a night out, or whatever, being a bit more mindful of like where to go, who to see, and, you know, just sharing the love a little bit more. I'm pretty sure that'll happen. Yeah,
definitely. I think that's a little positive note to end on, I suppose.
Yeah, we need it all, any we can get, right?
Yeah, definitely. So obviously everyone can follow us on Just Run With It on Instagram. I'm assuming, Peter, you have Black Tears on Instagram?
Yeah, it's at Black Tears Cuban Spiced, all one word, and it's the official one. There's the UK one as well, but most of the stuff goes onto the official one. So, and I'm at Pete Patini.
There you go.
Nice.
And probably give Skylark a follow as well.
Oh yeah, Skylark. Skylark, with it, you can have a look at their entire portfolio and stuff on there, which is wicked. And for the European rum tasting thing, where the next big European event thing, that's under Rum Cask Events. So yeah, tickets go on sale in a couple of weeks, I think. So there's only 420 tickets.
Wow.
That's it. So bless them. But they have to dram everything down, so they get full-size bottles and they decant everything.
Wow.
Right? So you get like 26, 28 different sample bottles. Jeez. All of them, I think, like 50 ml. So they're decanting, everybody's down. Honestly, man, that's a tough gig.
It's a good job we've all got some spare time on our hands.
I know, but it smells real good. Bless them. So, but yeah, it's worth looking out for.
Absolutely, yeah. And I guess we'll see everyone next time.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your time, gents. Good luck with the reopening, and hope it's how you want it to be.
Yeah, cheers.
Appreciate it.
I'll book an appointment to come and see you.
Oh, for sure.
Specific time slot. Get in, out. Brilliant. Cheers, chaps.